Welcome to the 2020 Rules of Golf Seminar. We hope that you and your family are well and finding interesting things to do while we all wait for the club to open. This portion of the seminar is presented by the Woodlands Club Handicap Committee. Hopefully this presentation will give you some insight into the major changes to the handicapping rules. On January 1 of this year, the 6 major handicapping authorities across the world came together to form the World Handicap System. Under the administration of the RNA and the USGA, there is now a uniform set of rules for handicapping and course ratings. Handicaps are now portable across the globe, and you can post your score at any course that you play. In January, when the committee started studying the new rules, it was readily apparent that there were many more changes than were anticipated last fall. Since then, the committee has been busy determining how best to communicate those changes to our fellow golfers. Fortunately for us golfers, most of the rule changes will happen in the black box of GIN. We will, however, have to remember a few changes for our everyday play. For instance, net double bogey replaces equitable stroke control as the maximum strokes on a hole. Also, we should all post our scores immediately after our round, or at least the same day as we play. It's now important that each of us is aware of which holes we get handicap strokes, which means we need to know our course handicap. The easiest way to get your course handicap is through the GIN app on your phone. This will be especially helpful when you are playing away from the club. At the club, you can always ask in the golf shop or call from the first tee phone. You could also use the posting computer to look up your course handicap, or go online and use the USGA course handicap calculator. As you can see in this chart, the maximum strokes you could take on a hole has changed. In the past, your maximum strokes may have been a 7 on every hole. Now with net double bogey, your maximum strokes on a hole will depend on the par of that hole and how many strokes your course handicap allows you to take. For that player who has been used to taking up to 7 on each hole, the maximum will now be either a 5, 6, 7, or an 8. This is the rule that is likely to give players the most difficulty until we get used to it. Posting your score on a timely basis is even more important now. Your handicap index will be updated daily. To ensure accuracy, you should post your score immediately after your round and no later than midnight on the day you play. Scores posted late, after the day you play, will not be considered in the determination of the playing conditions calculations, or PCC, although any PCC determined for that day will be applied to late postings. One of the big changes in the new rules is how our handicap index is calculated. The new calculation uses the lowest 8, rather than 10, score differentials out of the last 20 rounds. Your index is subject to adjustment for exceptional scores and your low handicap index. More about them later. The maximum handicap index has been increased to 54.0 for both men and women. We will no longer enter our tournament scores as T-scores. With the new rules, they become C-scores for competition. A T-score did not affect your handicap index any differently than a regular score, and the same holds true in the new rules for a C-score. What is different is how adjustments for exceptional scores are made. With the T-scores, it was the second lowest T-score in your record that was used to determine an exceptional score. Under the new rules, the exceptional score adjustment is determined by comparing to the low handicap index in your record over the last year for any type of round, competition or regular. When an exceptional score adjustment is required, the adjustment is made to each of the score differentials for the last 20 rounds. Caps are something new to the handicapping system. Their purpose is to restrict the upward movement of the handicap index. There is no restriction on the downward movement of the index. The soft cap is applied first. When a newly calculated handicap index is 3.0 or more strokes higher than the low handicap index, the upward movement is restricted to 50% of the increase over 3.0. Remember, the low handicap index is your lowest handicap index in the past 365 days. The second cap, the hard cap, is applied when the newly calculated index is 5 or more strokes after application of the soft cap over the low handicap index. The increase in handicap index will then be restricted to 5 strokes. These calculations are done in the black box of GIN, so as players, we need not worry about this on an everyday basis. What is a score differential? It looks like your handicap index, but it is not the same thing. A score differential is calculated for each score that you post. It includes factors for the course rating and slope rating, as well as an adjustment for playing conditions calculation, if that is necessary. The score differential is what you would use to compare rounds on different courses with different course ratings and slope. Your handicap index is determined by averaging the 8 best score differentials out of your last 20 rounds. We've been waiting a long time to find out what the playing conditions calculation is. It is an adjustment to your score differential based on scores posted for that day on that course. Courses are rated based on normal playing conditions, so when conditions are different such that significantly more players achieve their expected score, then the course is deemed to be playing easier than normal. Conversely, when significantly fewer than expected players post scores meeting their expected score, then the course is deemed to be playing more difficult than normal. The PCC adjustment will be calculated once per day and will range from -1.0 to +3.0. When the PCC is used, all players playing that course on that day will receive the adjustment. Most likely score and holes not completed are circumstances that can affect anyone, but are mostly seen in match play or team events. The new rule on most likely score is used whenever a player does not finish a hole, is conceded a hole, or picks up because they are out of the hole. When a player does not hole out, the score for handicap purposes on that hole will be the number of strokes already taken, plus any penalty strokes, plus the number of strokes needed to complete the hole. To determine the strokes needed to complete the hole, the player will add 1 stroke if the ball position is on the green and within 5 feet of the hole. If the ball position is outside of 5 feet, but within 20 yards, the player will add 2 or 3 strokes, depending on the difficulty of the green and the ability of the player. When the ball is outside of 20 yards, the player will add 3 or 4 strokes, depending on the difficulty of the green and the ability of the player. The score recorded on the hole should not exceed the maximum strokes allowed on that hole. Non-posting rounds, or unacceptable rounds, are pretty much what we have seen in the past. The new rules do provide a bit more clarification on some of these than was done in the past. When playing alone, the player is still not permitted to post their score. See the Handicap Committee webpage FAQs for more clarification on this particular rule. Also remember to request the golf shop to change the tee sheet to non-posting to avoid a posting reminder email from the committee. Maybe it's the weather, or there's a good lunch special that day. We've all made that left turn at the 12th green and headed for the clubhouse or the parking lot. When that happens, there is always a question on what score do you post. If you started at hole number 1, then post a 9-hole score since you completed 7 holes but less than 14 holes. Tell the golf shop to change the tee sheet to a 9-hole round to avoid a posting reminder email. If you started your round on number 10, then don't post anything since you played less than 7 holes. Don't forget to tell the golf shop to change your round on the tee sheet to non-posting. Let's switch gears now and talk about the posting and review results for last season and how that process will change for this year. In the chart, you can see that the committee sent out 644 posting reminders last season, and 318 players responded and removed themselves from the missed posting list. This was a great response, the best we've ever seen. Our posting compliance rate for the season was 91%, up from the prior year, and after accounting for all of the player responses, the posting compliance increased to 95%. A great job, everyone. The diagram now on the screen represents the posting review process used by the committee. The items in the yellow box represent the 4T system matching up the 18-hole tee reservation with an 18-hole posted score. When 4Ts finds a match for a player, the review process is done. If a match cannot be found, then the committee sends a posting reminder email to the player. If the player responds with a valid reason for not posting their score, the response is entered in the committee system and the player is removed from the missed posting list. If there is no response or the response is not valid, then the player remains on the missed posting list. The number of missed postings on a player's record determines when the committee will send additional messages to the player or apply a penalty score. As you may remember from previous seminars, the committee has been adjusting the posting review process each year with the objective of bringing the club into compliance with the World Handicap System rules. This year we will continue that adjustment and change the process so that a player will receive an email when they have accumulated 2 missed postings. The intent is to let the player know their status and alert them to the threshold where penalty scores will be applied. At the 4th missed posting, the committee will start applying a penalty score for each missed posting through the end of the season. Players may update the committee on previous missed postings at any time during the season. For major tournaments and events, except match play, the golf shop will post your score using the Golf Genius software. The committee has been discussing with the golf shop the possibility of posting match play scores. If that situation should change, players will be notified. As a rule of thumb, when the golf shop provides a pre-printed scorecard, except match play, then the golf shop will post your score. When in doubt, please ask. To wrap things up, I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. There have been a lot of changes to the handicapping rules. Most of them will be taken care of in the black box of GIN. As players, we basically need to remember 2 things. First, double bogey plus is the maximum score on a hole. And second, post our score on the day we play. Also, if you do get a posting reminder from the committee, let us hear from you so you can get yourself off of the missed posting list. Over the past couple of years, we've noticed that junior golfers are not getting our messages. They typically do not have their email address listed in the club system. If you have a junior golfer in your house, please share with them the information provided regarding the handicap system and the change in the rules. Also, because their email address is not in the club system, they don't get the posting reminder email and therefore can't respond to get themselves off of the missed posting list. Please review with your junior player the need to post their scores on a timely basis. Lastly, if you would like more information about the rule changes, go to the committee's web page on the club website. Just click Golf and then Handicap Committee Info. When the club was shut down in March, most of the updates for the 2020 season were complete. but the section with the specific information on rule changes was in process and had not been uploaded yet. That information will be uploaded as soon as possible after the club reopens. If you have any questions for the committee, please contact us at handicap@thewoodlands.org. Thank you for your time today, and we hope this information has been helpful.